Good morning. Even though we're already slightly past mid-December, I want to go back to the beginning of December and talk a little bit about some things going on astrologically in December and January. The presentation I'm going to show you, I call it Shifting Sands, because there are lots of little changes that have been going on or will be going on. And since some of them have already happened, we can kind of backtrack and take a quick look at them. So let me see if I can share my screen here. And I just need to get a couple of windows out of the way so that I can see what I'm doing. So just bear with me for a minute. And I think we're ready to go. So this is Shifting Sands, December 23rd, 2023 through January 2024. And the first slide I have here shows what I think is going to be the really big deal of 2024, and that is the April 8th solar eclipse. And in this solar eclipse, we have Sun, Moon, and Chiron all exactly conjunct to the minute at 19 degrees, 24 minutes of Aries. And that is what is, I think, going to make this eclipse so powerful. And Chiron is a plant that is often associated with wounding, but can also produce healing or what I'll call transcendent joy. And so that is the big question. Which is it going to be? Uh, and who is going to be affected by all of this? Well, this upcoming solar eclipse, it has the potential, in my opinion, to be a tsunami of an eclipse. And I've already talked about this eclipse in some other videos I've made and what the impact could be. And below, I just have a summary of people and places that might be directly affected. Additionally, most of the outer planets will be in approximately the same position that they were at during the October 2023 eclipses when Hamas invaded Israel. Saturn will have moved on considerably, about half the sign. Pluto will have changed signs by the time of this eclipse, but only moved about, I think, around 4 degrees from where it was, not very far from where it was in October 2023. And so there is a real possibility that we could repeat the wounding of that October month, but that things could be even worse, that there could be a much wider war. Nonetheless, here are some of the people and places that will be affected uh, by this upcoming solar eclipse as a result of having something important either conjunct, in opposition, or square this position of 19 degrees Aries 24 minutes. So, for instance, Hamas could be affected. It has its Jupiter at 19 degrees 49 minutes Aries, so its luck could be wounded. Iran could be very affected. It has its Pluto at 19 degrees 6 minutes Libra in opposition to the Sun Moon Chiron conjunction. And that is very worrisome. There's a great possibility of an expanded war in the Middle East that involves Iran. Netanyahu will probably be impacted by this eclipse because his moon is at 19 degrees 12 minutes of Libra. Putin has a Saturn Neptune conjunction in his chart. I think they're about 4 degrees apart. The midpoint of that conjunction is at 19 degrees 19 minutes of Libra. So he will be impacted by this solar eclipse. King Charles could be impacted. Uh, he has a Mars Pluto midpoint, which is at 18 degrees 45 minutes of Libra. So it's within a degree of being in exact opposition to the Sun Moon Chiron conjunction on April 8th, 2024. It's actually within slightly over half a degree away. The United Kingdom, the moon there is at 19 degrees 26 Cancer. So the Sun Moon Chiron conjunction at the solar eclipse will be squaring the moon of the United Kingdom. That moon is in its 10th house. So obviously, leaders of the country could be impacted. And the United States will be greatly impacted by Chiron in 2024 for a variety of reasons. First, natal Chiron is at 20 degrees 6 minutes Aries, so that's a little bit over half a degree away from the point of the Sun Moon Chiron conjunction. The Sun Pluto midpoint in the USA chart, and I'm using a July 2nd, 1776 chart for the passage of the resolution for independence. And that chart, the Sun Pluto midpoint, is at exactly 19 degrees 24 minutes of Aries, exactly conjunct that eclipse point. Furthermore, by the way, Sun, that could be a leader of the country, Pluto, power, death, transformation. There could be difficulties that our leaders have as a result of this eclipse. Also, the United States will experience two Chiron returns in 2023. One is shortly after this April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse. The second one is going to be shortly after the presidential election. And then it's going to have one more in early 2024, which I think happens in February. So, Chiron will have a large impact on America next year. Chiron was going through some of the same stuff. We went through some Chiron returns back in the early 70s when Chiron was first in opposition to natal Saturn in this July 2nd, 1776 chart, and then conjunct natal Chiron. We have now been through recent oppositions with natal Saturn and are getting ready to experience the conjunctions. And we are going through similar things now that we went through back in the 70s, in the early 70s. There was political upheaval in the first part of the 70s. Both Spiro Agnew, Vice President Agnew, and President Richard Nixon wound up having to resign. This time around, a lot of the political wounding seems to be around Donald Trump and that January 6th insurrection. Roe v. Wade became law of the land during the last round of Chiron making an opposition to natal Saturn conjunction with natal Chiron. And this time around, just the opposite. The Supreme Court reversed itself on Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose an abortion. We had some political transcendence back in the early 70s with the work, the incredibly excellent work of the Senate Select Committee to investigate Watergate. And this time around, we had very transcendent political work by the January 6th Committee. So I think the United States, America, will be continuing most likely to go through some political turmoil in 2024 as it tries to restructure, revitalize its democracy. And of course, I will also probably be impacted by this eclipse because my Neptune is at 19 degrees 18 minutes of Libra in a very strong opposition to this eclipse point. Now, I have Neptune in my 6th house, which has to do with health. And last year, I went through two exact oppositions of transiting Chiron to natal Neptune, but I was prepared for it Fortunately, my health was not severely affected. Uh, it might have affected more than I realized, but nonetheless, the main outcome for me was spiritual transcendence. I made definite gains that deepen my spiritual understanding and wisdom about things. And so when the eclipse happens, I'm hoping that whatever enlightenment I have just gets strengthened all the more. But there's also a possibility for wounding and health problems. So hopefully nothing severe for me. But anyway, you can see there are a lot of major players out there who have the potential to be greatly affected by this particular eclipse, and also me too. Now, the time to begin preparing for this eclipse is now. What happens as a result of the solar eclipse? It's an intense moment, but we can decide how we react to that intensity. Uh, Past history suggests that there will be a lot of wounding as an outcome, but we have the ability to make different choices in order to make healing and even spiritual transcendence more likely. And as I say, preparation for a better outcome must begin now. From December 2023 through January 2024, there will be several sign changes and changes of planets from retrograde to direct, or vice versa. And that is why I'm calling this period that we're in right now shifting sands. And below are some of the signs involved and what their influence may be during this period. Now, when we have a lot of planets in Scorpio, like we did last October, uh, that is when people tend to have very strongly held feelings about things. And uh, if there's a war going on, that's when both sides kind of dig in on whatever their position is regarding the war. As things move into Sagittarius, though, Sagittarius is opposite Gemini. Gemini represents the individual mind and communication. Sagittarius is the social counterpart. It represents the group mind and group discussions and communication. So, as you get more planets into Sagittarius, that's when negotiations over things become more possible and possibly more fruitful. When things move into Capricorn, Capricorn is associated more with individuals who have power, the leaders of various groups and countries. So there may be group discussions, negotiations when things are in Sagittarius. When they move into Capricorn, leaders will probably make decisions. When things move into Aquarius, power shifts from individuals to the people. And that's when we get into group collaboration and group creativity. When things are in Pisces, Pisces can bring forth both feelings of empathy and compassion, desire for peace, but can also bring forth subterfuge and misinformation. And we often tend to get both of these things together. Astrology, as I often like to say, it's not like mixing hot water and cold water together to get lukewarm water. It's often more like a tossed salad. So you can have hot and cold both happening simultaneously, just right next to one another. Chiron is in Aries, and at its best, Aries represents individual dignity, the spiritual worth of the individual, the person. It can also have to do with assertiveness, and at its worst, it expresses itself aggressively in a militaristic way. And then planets that we have in Taurus, they're going to nudge us towards stability and on a global scale more toward economic concerns, the stock market, the economy, supply chains, and economic growth, things like that. So these are going to be the signs that are involved. And as the planets move back and forth from one into the other, well, it's going to bring out these different characteristics of those signs. Uh, Again, that's why I call this period from December through January shifting sands. Okay, I'm going to go back to December 1st. We've already been past that because, like I said, I think today is December 17th. But on December 1st, that is when Mercury uh, entered Capricorn. Prior to that, it was in Sagittarius with the Sun and Mars, and that favored some negotiations. And in the Middle East, that's where we got some of these hostage and prisoner exchanges between Hamas and Israel. Uh, those exchanges ended on December 1st, right as Mercury was moving into Capricorn. Uh, and you can see here that at the time that Mercury moved into Capricorn, there was a T square being activated here. Transiting Moon in opposition to transiting Pluto and square natal Venus. That made peace negotiations, good relations, more difficult. People were feeling more aggressive, more militaristic, more dictatorial, and things broke down. Okay, now let's see. A little later, on December 4th, Venus entered Scorpio. And that was not necessarily all that great because in Scorpio, well, first, Venus, it has a lot to do with what we like, what we don't like, our values. And it's associated with the right brain, the nonverbal brain. Those values we hold as a result of this makes us feel good and this doesn't make us feel good. And when Venus is in Scorpio, people tend to have uh, deeply held positions, emotional positions, and feelings about things. So, whatever their feeling is about their particular viewpoint and conflict, they're just going to dig in and hold on to that. And the fact that Venus is making a strong square to Pluto at this time over here in Capricorn, that is not helping out. Also, uh, the Sun and Mars are still somewhat conjunct. The good thing is the Sun is moving faster, it's moving past this conjunction, but the Moon is making a square to Mars, and that is just making things a little bit more difficult on this day. Uh, One bright note, though, is that Saturn was making a trine to Venus on this day, so this suggests there are people out there trying to construct plans for peace, uh, to make things a little better. And Saturn is also making a sextile to Mercury. Uh, and if I'm using a 3-degree orb here, if I enlarge the orb slightly, then Venus is also making a sextile to Mercury. So even though people have some very deep-seated emotional feelings and positions, as Venus is moving through Scorpio on this day when Venus entered Scorpio, there is behind the scenes work going on to try and get people talking and uh, get more discussions and plans of peace. And over here, this trine between Jupiter and the moon, it's not going to last that long, but it's giving a boost to economic growth and stability at this point. Okay, now on December 6th, uh, Neptune, which had been moving retrograde, it became stationary direct. So Neptune, it's very slow moving now, but starting to move forward again. And this is also going to be beneficial. It can make it easier to implement plans for peace empathy and compassion. Uh, that is what Pisces is strong on. What Pisces is weak on, though, are details. Uh, the moon is opposite Neptune. The moon is in Virgo, and fortunately, Virgo is strong on details. So uh, there is Neptune over here now openly urging us to resolve conflicts around the world in some ways, but others are going to have to work out the details. And we still have, well, we have a very strong trine between Saturn and Venus at this point. So even though Venus is in Scorpio, which is not its best position, Saturn is working positively with it at this point to try and construct some avenues for peace. And with the Sun making a pretty strong trine to Chiron, there are also discussions going on, efforts to try and alleviate some of the wounding that the wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East are causing the world right now. Okay. Uh, with both Saturn, well, in particular with Mars and Sagittarius, that's pretty good. With when Mars was back in Scorpio, we saw much more militaristic actions. Uh, with Mars now in Sagittarius, this is there can still be aggression there, but it's moving from aggressive actions to aggressive talking. So hopefully that will be something good. Okay, other things going on. We have Mercury making a nice trine to Jupiter. That is good for communication and economic growth. We have Uranus making a semi-square to Mercury. Uh, I'm sorry, a sesquiquadrant, not a semi-square. But both semi-squares and sesquiquadrants, you can think of them as either breaking points or turning points. Uh, they're moments when things can change. So again, there are turning points that perhaps we've already reached in terms of talks, negotiations, and also with regard to economic matters, since Uranus is in Taurus. Okay, getting closer to the present. On December 13th, Mercury went stationary retrograde. Now, usually we think of Mercury retrograde as a bad thing, but in this case, it may ultimately be good. When Mercury was in Sagittarius, we were getting those negotiations to release hostages and exchange prisoners between Israel and Hamas. And then when Mercury went into Capricorn, those exchanges broke down. As Mercury goes retrograde, it's going to go back to the beginning of Capricorn, back to about 22 degrees Sagittarius. This is a time when discussions, there may be efforts to bring back those discussions between Israel and Hamas to get some resolutions to various things. So that's why I say this could be ultimately good, particularly once Mercury gets back into Sagittarius. Now, we also have, let's see, the moon making a strong square to Neptune. So, again, that favors deception and subterfuge, misinformation, things like that. Okay. And let's see, we also have Mars making a strong trine to Chiron. So again, there have been efforts we've already seen to bring more healing and relief to people in Gaza who are uh, suffering. There are lots of people who have suffered who are not really part of this war, but they're caught up in it. They can't escape the battle zone. And with Mercury making a trine to Venus and particularly Jupiter down here in Taurus, we're seeing some economic indicators improving and hopefully some good discussions going on. Okay, now this one will be upcoming on December 21st, 2023 in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I live at 8:28 p.m. That will be the winter solstice, and that will be when the sun enters Capricorn. Okay, now with the sun going from Sagittarius into Capricorn, we now have three planets in Capricorn, Sun, Mercury, and Pluto, only one planet left in Sagittarius, Mars. So the emphasis is now more going to be on leaders making decisions about things. The good news, however, is this triangle you see right here in blue, which is pretty strong. Uh, we have Sun and Mercury making a strong trine to the moon. It's also making a trine to Jupiter if I just extend that orb a little bit. And the moon and Jupiter are making a sextile to Saturn, which is making a strong sextile to Sun and Mercury. So the real pivot point here is Saturn and Pisces. Uh, Pisces tries, along with Neptune, it tries to dissolve the boundaries between things. But this can allow all sorts of dreams, visions, and inspirations to come through. Saturn, in contrast, is trying to make something concrete. Saturn throughout is going to try and be using a higher vision to bring about some more concrete resolution to problems in the Middle East and in Ukraine right now, and probably elsewhere in the world too. But this represents a lot of people behind the scenes working on diplomatic solutions to various problems, and it's going to require a lot of vision in order to bring this about. But we're going to see this kind of triangle being activated frequently. Some of these planets are going to be moving forward, but some Mercury's moving retrograde, so it's going to uh, activate things too, and Sun will hit Jupiter as it moves forward, and as when Mars gets into Capricorn, it's going to be completing this triangle. Something which we're going to see fairly stable almost from here on through the end of January will be this sextile between Saturn and Jupiter. And that is really good because this represents a balance between growth and regulation. And we'll probably see a more economic stability occurring during this period. Uh, anyway, this triangle in blue, this is a very good influence at the winter solstice. And whenever it happens at the solstice, that tends to linger for about the next 3 months. So that's a very good influence as we head into that April 8th, 2024 solar eclipse. Now, also at the winter solstice, we have Uranus making a pretty strong opposition to Venus in Scorpio. If we think of Venus in Scorpio as representing that uh, right brain getting sort of entrenched in these very strongly held feelings, whether it be in the Middle East or in Russia and Ukraine, uh, that is being opposed by Uranus and Scorpio. Uranus tries to break up the existing pattern. I said Uranus and Scorpio. Sorry, I meant Uranus and Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus has a lot to do with the economy, finances, and possessions. And an interesting thing is right now in the US Congress, there are a lot of people who are balking at spending more money on Ukraine and Israel. Uh, and that seems to reflect this conflict. Uh, we have, on the one hand, some people locked in conflict, locked into their emotional positions. On the other hand, there are some people who are saying, well, financially, do I want to keep backing that? Well, we don't want the worst to happen either way. Uh, we don't want, wars to continue and just worsen. We don't want to just surrender and have things get worse. We do want things to change. We do want to find creative solutions to problems. And so this is also an opportunity for that. At the same time, aggressive or active discussions can help resolve the conflicts. That's what the quincunx and the semisextile indicate here. Changes and compromise have to be made. Okay. On December 22nd, right after the winter solstice, that is when Mercury is going to retrograde back into Sagittarius. And so hopefully in the Middle East, we will see discussions again that are beneficial. And hopefully there'll be discussions that result in the release of more of the hostages. And let's see, we still have the sun making a good semisextile to Saturn in Pisces. Sorry, I may be coughing a bit. I had a little respiratory virus recently, so I'll try and not cough too much throughout the rest of the presentation. Let's see. On this day, when Mercury goes into Sagittarius, we also have Neptune making a strong trine with Venus. And on the news recently, I heard that there are going to be a new humanitarian corridor opened up to Gaza. This one will be directly from Israel into Gaza. So hopefully that can get more food and medical supplies in to those who need it, and hopefully get innocent civilians out of harm's way. Okay. Now, let's see what else is going on. Oh, also we have Moon conjunct Uranus on this day. There can be some surprises. And Jupiter will be making a sesquiquadrate to Mars. The Moon will be making a sesquiquadrate, it looks like, to Mercury. And let's see, probably the Sun. So there could be some turning points around this time. Now, on December 26th, day after Christmas, Chiron will be stationary direct. It will begin moving forward again. Hopefully, this can bring about more healing into the world, though it could also bring about more wounding through war. That would be the worst case scenario. But the good news is we have several nice little blue triangles on this day between Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn. Uh, let's see, Jupiter, Saturn, and the Sun, and also Neptune, Venus, Pluto. And if I just extend the orb just slightly, then we would see Pluto making a sextile to Neptune also. They're only about 4 degrees apart, so we'll consider this triangle completed. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, probably behind the scenes, to reduce a lot of the tensions. Now, the moon is going to be in opposition to the sun. Chiron turns direct right after the full moon. And at the full moon, uh, There's a chance that this is where the leaders might be addressing concerns of the people. They're in opposition at this point, but they can come together. Neptune will be squaring uh, Mercury and Mars and Sagittarius. There could be some cloudiness regarding whatever negotiations are going on, maybe some deception involved, misinformation that could affect negotiations in the Middle East. It could also be misinformation in political campaigns going on around the world. Uh, but there are still a lot of other people working behind the scenes to bring about some greater harmony. And with Uranus making a sesquil quadrant to the sun, this could be some sort of turning point, a breaking point if things aren't working out well, a turning point if they're going to go from bad to good. So let's hope for the best. Let's work for the best. Okay, on December 29th, Venus will leave Scorpio, enter Sagittarius. We'll have Venus, Mercury, and Mars in Sagittarius, and that bodes well for negotiations and discussions. Uh, we still have Neptune making a square to Mercury and Mars. So there's still some misinformation, some deception or cloudiness going on. We have a fair number of sesquiquadrats going on here, which means that this day could be a turning point for a lot of things. Also, we have Sun still making a good trine to Jupiter, and Saturn and Jupiter making a strong sextile with one another. And if I just increase the orb a bit here, then we could see Saturn and Sun making a sextile. Let me go back a couple of slides. Okay, here, here's where within a 3-degree orb, we really start to see that sextile between Saturn and Jupiter. That's on December 26th. And that is going to continue, and that's going to be a very stabilizing influence throughout all of January as we get this balance between growth and regulation, Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, so challenges here, but also some good things going on. Also, very, very strong sextile between Pluto and Venus. So individuals with power will be pushing for discussions for peace, hopefully. Now, on December 30th, Jupiter turns stationary direct. It starts moving forward again. And that is going to probably be good for economic growth, expansion, and hopefully the stock market will continue to grow. It'd be really nice if we get a entire month of January being nothing but sustained growth in the stock market. We still have that same problem though with Neptune squaring Mercury and Mars, and also Saturn is going to be squaring Venus. So there will still probably be some mistrust, some deception or cloudiness in talks and negotiations. And the square to Venus from Saturn, that could delay things a bit. But the moon down here is making a nice trine to Mercury and Mars. That's good. And Pluto is still making a nice sextile to Venus. And we still have some sesquiquadrats here indicating turning points of various sorts. Now, January 1st, Mercury will turn direct, and at this point, it will be back in Sagittarius. And while it's in Sagittarius, particularly when it starts moving direct, that is when I hope that we get into more fruitful discussions and negotiations over things. With Saturn still making a strong square to Venus, could be some delays, but that's going to start weakening after January 1st. And let's see, Uranus trine the moon, that will be beneficial. And again, we still have Jupiter and Saturn making a good sextile with one another. And some sesquiquadrats representing turning points still going on. It's back and forth, back and forth. Okay, on January 4th, Mars will enter Capricorn. This is where leaders may be making some decisions about the conflicts going on in the world. Hopefully, they will make decisions for peace. Uh, However, we have Chiron making a square to Sun, so initially there may be some more wounding that goes on. We still have the good sextile between Jupiter and Saturn, which is good for economic growth and stability. On this day, there's a sesquiquadrate between Saturn and the moon in Libra. So this may be some turning point in whatever discussions or plans for peace are going on. So there will be a shift in energies on this day as Mars goes from Sagittarius into Capricorn. Not all is going to be smooth, though, as indicated by the square to the Sun from Chiron and the square uh, still to Mercury from Neptune. And within about a 5-degree orb, it'll still be squaring Mars. Now, on January 13th, we're going to have Mercury move back into Capricorn. At this point, we have 4 important planets in Capricorn: Mercury, Mars, the Sun, and Pluto. So the leaders are going to be more in control of the situation now. Only Venus is left in Sagittarius, the sign of group communication. But the good news is we're seeing another one of these nice little triangles. We have Jupiter and Saturn making a sextile as one leg of that triangle. And then Saturn is making a sextile to Mars and Mercury. And Mars is making a nice trine to Jupiter. Mercury is within 5 degrees of exact trine to Jupiter. So uh, even though the leaders are in charge, they may be making some good decisions that the rest of us are going to like. Uh, Uranus making a quincunx to Venus and Sagittarius. This may be people making some sort of adjustments or compromises for peace of some sort or agreements of some sort. But things are looking up at this point. Now, January 20th, this is going to be a big day. 3 big things happen on this day. Pluto enters Aquarius. The Sun enters Aquarius. The Sun is conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. They all happen one right after another. And actually, let's see, when the Sun is in conjunct Pluto, it's going to be right before Pluto goes into Aquarius. But I think we can consider this pretty much very, very close conjunction, if not exact conjunction at this point when Pluto moves into Aquarius. So there's going to be a definite shift in energies. This is when, for the next 9 months, power will really be shifting from individuals to the people. Then Pluto will retrograde back into Aquarius for about, or Capricorn for about 3 months. And then it goes back into Aquarius again for about the next 20 years. But we're really in this process of uh, the people finding their voice and finding their power again and moving away from individuals being able to make all the decisions on their own. Uh, in the long haul, uh, the 20 years that Pluto will be spending in Aquarius, we'll probably see a lot of tremendous advances and transformations in technology. Uh, Pluto was briefly in Aquarius last year at 0+ degrees Aquarius, and that is when uh, we suddenly had all this very active discussion about artificial intelligence and these artificial intelligence bots being made available to the public on the internet for all of us to experiment with. And then Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn, which is more about regulation. And that's when we began serious discussions about okay, what does all this artificial intelligence mean? How do we regulate it? Should we regulate it? Well, we're going to see all of that and more now with Pluto back into Aquarius. And with the Sun and Pluto here both at 0 degrees Aquarius, uh, this is a point that resonates with the conjunction not too long ago between Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. So we're really standing on the threshold of sort of a new age, not this long lasting age of Aquarius, but certainly a lengthy introduction to it when people will be collaborating more, working together, learning in groups, creating in groups. Uh, Humanitarian concerns will be more to the forefront. Technology will be more to the forefront. Creativity and ideas are going to gradually come to the forefront in the years to come. Okay, now Neptune still squaring a planet in Sagittarius, this time Venus. So there's still something murky about discussions, maybe misinformation, deception going on. The moon is squaring Saturn at this point. That's not all that great, but uh, Mercury is still making a nice trine to Jupiter, and we still have that very powerful sextile between Saturn and Jupiter. So there, things are being worked out, and we need to assist those who are involved in bringing about good plans and resolutions to tensions. Okay, on January 23rd, Venus will move into Capricorn. And so we have Mercury, Mars, and Venus in Capricorn. Leaders are still making some decisions, but they're having to listen to the people more since we still have Sun and Pluto in conjunction, both in Aquarius. And now we have another kind of very nice triangle being formed between Saturn, Jupiter, and the moon down here. So we get a lot of these triangles starting in late December, I think, and going throughout January. So that is going to be very beneficial for things. Uh, the one caveat at this point, though, is we have Mercury and Mars making a square to Chiron, and also we could say the North Lunar Node. Uh, this could result in some wounding or some aggression. So we have to be very careful. There are, as I say, people working behind the scenes to make things better, to bring about peace, resolution to tensions, but we still have not only, we've had those ongoing problems with misinformation, but also with wounding of one another. So hopefully we can bring about spiritual transcendence in place of wounding, healing instead of killing. Let's see, on January 26th, Uranus is going to turn stationary direct. And with Uranus moving direct again, we might get not disruption to the economy, but creative solutions to the economy. The trine between Uranus and Mercury and Mars, that is going to be very beneficial for things. We also have this triangle being activated again. This time it's Venus involved. Venus sextile Saturn, sextile Jupiter, which is trine Venus. So this will help resolve some tensions. Uh, the Sun is making a square to Jupiter. That can elevate some tensions. And still very concerned about Mercury and Mars squaring Chiron and the North Node over here. That could intensify some wounding uh, at this point. So we have to be very careful about that. We have, like I said, these nice blue triangles throughout the month going on, helping to resolve tensions, but there still could be acts of aggression that cause wounding. Okay. And then on January 27th, let's see, I think this is the day after, isn't it? Yeah. Day after the 26th, on 27th, that is when Mars will be conjunct Mercury. And that is when leaders might be very bellicose, very aggressive. And let us hope that they do not make the decisions that wound us, because we still have Chiron making a strong square to that. But we also have the very nice triangle here, Saturn sextile Jupiter, trine Venus, which is sextile Saturn. We have a good trine between Uranus and Mercury and Mars up here. So there are some good things that can come about. Okay. Uh, Saturn is still squaring Jupiter, so that will elevate some tensions. Possibly economically, people may go too far in one direction or another. Okay. So, in summary, from December through January, this is pretty much what I'm expecting. Some difficult negotiations going on, aggression that waxes and wanes, an outpouring of both compassion and misinformation, but also much work behind the scenes to produce a stable peace, and more, perhaps a stabilization of economic growth. That would be nice for all of us. And what I think we're greatly in need of now are new paradigms for the future. We've been involved instead in a lot of conflicts that we always see as having to result in either a winner or loser. One side winning results in the other side losing, and that can set the stage for future conflicts. We need to figure out, we need to imagine how these conflicts can instead lead to a win win situation. That's the challenge before us. And much of what we're doing now, frankly, just isn't working. But do I have the answers? No. But we all need to be thinking about it. If we're all thinking about it, someone will have an answer. Someone will come up with a solution to these problems that we're in Ukraine and in the Middle East. We need to approach some of these old problems not with old solutions, but with new solutions. We need new paradigms, new visions, new voices. And if you haven't seen it already, I really recommend watching the movie Everything Everywhere all at once, because that is what this movie is about. This movie, which won all those awards the day after the Jupiter Chiron conjunction on March 11th, 2023, this movie is about being a new kind of spiritual warrior, a warrior who doesn't just simply defeat what we see as the bad guys, but a warrior who figures out how to change the situation, change the paradigm from win lose to win win, where everyone benefits and everyone's a winner. So we need to bring about peace. We need to bring about resolutions to these problems, but we need new paradigms, new ways of thinking in order to do it, ways of resolving them where everyone wins. So, from December through January, December 2023 through January 2024, that's what's going on. It's a lot of shifting of the sands, as I call it. Planets moving from one sign into another. Planets moving from retrograde to direct or direct to retrograde. So energies are kind of shifting around, but this is all setting a stage for whatever is going to happen during the what I think will be a very powerful solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. If we don't do the work now to produce a better world, then we'll be much more likely to experience a lot of wounding around the world during this upcoming Sun, Moon, Chiron exact conjunction at 19 degrees 24 minutes of Aries. But if we work right, if we come up with solutions, if we even just pray for peace or visualize world peace, then we can increase the chances of something much more beneficial happening. We can increase the chances of healing instead of wounding, and we can increase the chances of spiritual transcendence rather than pain and destruction. And if you can do nothing else, just be kinder to people in your daily lives. If you can think of nothing else, just pray and meditate and visualize an energy of kindness and healing in the world. Other people will sense that, and they will pick up the ball and run with it, and they will probably find the solutions uh, that solution that is currently evading the rest of us. So there are things that can be done now to make the world better. And if we do the right things now, then that upcoming April solar eclipse will be nearly as bad as it might be. Okay, well, that is it for this little presentation. So let me stop sharing my screen here. Okay, I'm back. I see myself again. So I hope you have found this presentation useful. Again, as I say, just a lot of energies moving around back and forth during this 2 month period from December through the end of January. But there's also a lot of opportunity to reduce tension and make things work out in a better way. And the more we consciously work in that direction, the better off we'll be when we reach that April 8th, 2024 total solar eclipse. So that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope you join me again for future presentations. But for now, I'll just say so long and be well and do what you can to make this a better world. It's all up to us at this point.